Hey, David, thanks. Okay, looking at the points you mentioned, okay, and I'll add them to the P&L. In terms of repairs, the agreements with the management companies is that the daily usage, let's say something gets broken, like, I don't know, basic stuff, the bathroom, there's something, there's this position that is broken, all this, they take care of that. They have the materials. Okay, they actually buy them in at scale. They're supposed to, all the apartments are supposed to be quite similar. So there is kind of a little bit of a lock-in, okay, because a lot of the materials will be done by this company, by the developer dash management company. Depends a little bit on the setup, okay, but there'll be this kind of situation where you supposedly benefit from their scale, meaning that they have the same kind of materials for X amount of apartments and they run it that way, which means there's a bit of a lock-in, but not so much, I would say, long term. But I do agree that any, I mean, I do agree. It's true that any structural and long term kind of changes you'll will have to do, and I think that adding 4% in terms of cost between at least 3% in terms of additional amortization, because you'll have to, obviously we will have to do some structural repair instead of like in a normal apartment every 10 years. You'll probably have to do it every 5 years or every 15 years. You'll have to do it every 7. It's probably more around 3%, but I'll add that cost line saying, hey, we need to be accounting for that because we'll need to be reinvesting in that. Okay. Cash up front, that was the wrong term, 100%. I meant yield up front, meaning, for example, if you have a 4% rental yield net, and then you're thinking that, hey, I might have 6%. I mean, depends completely on the historic market. For example, Valencia market last year grew 15%, okay, on average. And obviously in 2019 it was down. So it's a little bit relative, but let's say you're getting around a 10%, because the property is increasing in value, which is normally the biggest chunk. And European markets or in Asia, similar. Okay, rent is normally quite below the numbers you've mentioned in the US. So, let's say you're getting that 4 and 6%, the biggest chunk. What I'm saying is that the yield up front comes because the tourist, you're getting it every month. In principle, I mean, obviously some months will be lower and summer will be much higher occupancy, higher average daily rate. But on a yearly basis, you're getting that 10, 12% upfront net to your account. So that's what I like, that instead of having to wait 10 years to sell the thing, you're actually getting it upfront. I hope there's not too much noise. The other day, the Mac was working fine with a bunch of people talking very loud next to me. So let's hopefully it works. Management companies. It's flexible system. There is some lock-in in terms of materials and in terms of equipment and things like this that you might think, oh, it's more flexible. But the idea was to, in each company, normally they'll pitch to you, the developer will go with the management company, or together, okay, because the management company is a much better sales entity, because it can tell you, hey, we can generate this revenue in the future with you. We have collaborations, we have other apartments, we know how to do it, okay, because you need revenue generators, especially the people who operate in the OTAs. And are good at getting people to book, you know, and that kind of key element is makes a difference. Okay, and our intention was to, in every apartment we buy, just start working with the agency that was already running, the management company that was already running it. Why? Because that way we can compare and say, okay, these guys are working out, and eventually, obviously, what might make sense is to set it up ourselves. But I think that's at a certain scale. This is when you have 10, 20 apartments, you say, hey, now I'm going to hire the person, which is the objective long term. Then trends, good point. Okay. And here, if you look at these numbers, okay, I'm not sure if it's going to zoom out and, okay, it's not zooming out. Let me show you here. If I remember, yeah, it's here. Okay. This is the Valencia market. Okay. That you can see here. This is a historical data from 2022. Okay. But it fits to what I can see with another source of data. Okay. As you can see, this is comparing 2019 because it was this post-COVID. How's it going? Okay, even 2019, the highest level they achieved is like 76% in the middle of summer of occupancy, average occupancy. Obviously, that will depend a lot on, do you have a prime area? Do you have an average area? And Tarifa would be like the average daily rate of 100 euros. Okay. This is data from the kind of tourism and hotel board. Okay. And then when I compared, okay, Here, I think that the key difference is zone A, zone B, zone Z. Zone A is what they call areas that are completely central, and that you know that tourists are always going to come there. And then B and C are kind of like, okay, they're spilling over. It's clearly center and circular, and inner circle is A, B, and then the larger circle is C. Okay, we think that the numbers. I think that zone B is where we're targeting to be very conservative. 65% rate would be good, and I'll show you why. Because when you look at the specialist spaces, RDNA, I'm not paying the premium yet account. Okay, I'm staying cheap for now. You can see that the data kind of matches. Okay, 20% year-on-year growth in 2023 and part of 2024 versus the year before in terms of revenue from this kind of properties, and it seems to come from an average daily rate increase of 20 euros, which I had heard that was quite from the grapevine. I heard that. And then occupancy rate also going from 64 almost, actually 64 to 68. And then looking at our averages, we're probably going to target zone B, okay? Because what we're seeing is zone A, the apartments are pretty crap, and we're a little bit worried about the value of the property, meaning if this industry market goes down, you still want to have a property that will have some value, that is well structured, that has light. Okay, a lot of these apartments are built and very narrow because they take a commercial space, and then they try to fit in as many as possible. And generally, going long and narrow pays off. But of course, that has sound issues, and light is not very good. You don't have a transfer of air because you don't have window and window on both sides. And we're trying to look at properties that actually have a better distribution, that are not generally in zone A, they're generally in zone B. That's where we're trying to do a kind of a match of saying, hey, it won't be the most central areas that have guaranteed occupancy, but it won't be also properties that, in case the tourist in case climate change accelerated in 5 years, we're burning hot in this area, no one wants to be there. It's strange, but all this, we still have the possibility of selling this for residential use, and people will still be interested because, like, okay, it's a nice apartment in a relatively central area and gentrified area, and there's gonna do. And that's basically it. I'm looking at these other sources, they seem to say the same. Idealista and all this, here are the links. Okay, and that's a little bit the picture. And taking your input on the repair side, I think that there's also another factor that is that regulation is a little bit non-strict yet. So there's something that might need adaptation in the future. So we need to budget. So I think that 4% will include any adaptations that are required by the government in the future, saying, no, now the standard has increased. You still have the license, but you need to meet that standard, which is a thing that could happen relatively. If standards can increase, they can still keep your license. But yeah, but if you want to keep it, and we're not taking it away from you, but we want you to meet the standard, and that might require a cost, and we need to account for that 4 or 5%. Thanks, and give me feedback, man. Give me feedback on what do you see about this, okay? And I'll make this public. The world needs to know what we're doing. Thanks.